Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of the UGASports Live podcast. My name is Radi Nabulsi. I am joined by Dayne and Blaine. It's a rhyming pair. And, of course, Jim Donnan, the guy everyone here is here to see. But we did a little teaser on Twitter to say that Blaine Gilmer, one of our recruiting experts at UGASports, was going to join us today. So he's going to be on the show. And Coach is going to ask him some questions, and we're going to pepper him for some good insider recruiting scoop on some of these kids that are out there. I am in my home office today. There's a bunch of deer outside, as there are every day. I wish I was at Classic City Eats. I'd love to be there, but they're closed for a couple days to take off the 4th of July. I hope everyone had a good 4th. I hope all my co-hosts had a good 4th as well. And I want to give a big shout out to our sponsors, of course, Dead Soxy, Athens Ford, Academia Brewing Company, and Your Pie. It's Tuesday. It's Your Pie. It's just noon. So go ahead and get your orders in for Your Pie. Maybe it'll be ready before the show's over. So, Coach, I'm going to turn the show over to you, and I want you to just blister Blaine, just get after him. Let's find out what the hell's going on in recruiting.
Yeah, well, we've got the right man to do that. I want to give Blaine a little love here. For the people that really don't subscribe to our rival site, that just watch this YouTube channel or Facebook, we do have a really good, extensive recruiting backlog of just these guys do a tremendous job. We're going to see Jed here in a minute, but Blaine and Trent Smallwood, they just really I enjoy reading their stuff, and they're right up with what's going on. And it's a good idea by Roddy to in the middle of summer when things are maybe a little slow on the football end, but recruiting's big, to get these guys on there and let the experts talk about it. So Blaine,
Roddy always has the best ideas. I don't know if y'all noticed that. Like just producing every week.
But I'll take credit for it, like I don't normally do.
But here's the first thing I would like to say. Everybody gets out of their element, Blaine, early in the summer sometime when people start looking at the recruiting down the road and all. And our recruiting right now, some sites, we're rated like 7th or 8th, some 6th, and, Arkansas is ahead of us. But Alabama's 19th. Texas and Ohio State are really rolling. Where do you see the state of our recruiting right now as compared to what you thought it would be here in the middle of July?
I think it's right on par with what has happened in the Kirby Smart era, right? They typically close strong and never have finished out of the top 5 under Kirby Smart, and I think that won't change. I think they'll be up in the top 4 or 5 classes, or maybe even higher by the time it all gets done with. But I think Kirby and they're just kind of taking their time, biding their time, getting the guys that they're trying to get.
Yeah, I think that's a really good answer. And I would add to this that times when you lose a player, everybody just gets all out of whack, but not necessarily that Georgia actually recruited them just because they put their cap on the line and all. Every Georgia kid acts like Georgia's after him. But I think some of these guys lately, we definitely were after that one that went to Texas. I don't know about the one to LSU, but let's just get specific recruiting issues on position-wise. Where do you see Georgia going now in 2023? Now that Manning is committed to Texas,
I don't think they'll take anybody in the class of 2023. Kirby Smart is not going to just put a scholarship out there just to put a scholarship out there. I think he feels very confident with the 3 other guys besides Stetson in the quarterback room right now, and I think they're very, very close to making some noise in the class of 2024 with guys like Julian Sayin, maybe a Jaden Davis, who's actually from the state of Georgia, grew up a Georgia fan. So that's going to kind of be a who wants on board first between those two, I feel like. So I think Georgia's attention will turn more to 2024, and as well as I do, Coach Donnan, that now the transfer portal is always there if you need to dip into it.
Yep. Good point. But what about Dominic Raiola? He's committed to Ohio State. We were in good with him, and then we let him kind of, simmer a little bit while we were waiting on Manning. Do you think we still got any kind of shot with him, the great quarterback that Matthew Stafford played with his dad with the Lions?
Yeah, he's another guy in the 2024 class that Georgia is still in communication with, still trying to work on a relationship there. But I feel like Julian Sayin and Jaden Davis are the best two bets in that class going forward, especially, I mean, just look at what Ohio State's putting around Rayola in the class of 2023 and 2024 receiver wise. It's going to be hard to pull him away from Ohio State.
Okay, let's get to the running back situation. You know, we lost two good running backs last year. We got McIntosh and Milton and Edwards, and we got some good young ones coming in. What does it look like for who we're going to get for the one or two running backs for this year?
Yeah, the main focus is Justice Haynes. It's Justice Haynes or bust right now. That's the guy that Georgia. That's the guy that Georgia really, really wants, and I think that they've put their best foot forward all the way throughout that. Alabama's trying to make some noise in there. They had Richard Young in for a visit, so Georgia and Alabama are both kind of in the top two running for both those two running backs. But another guy you want to keep an eye on is if and when they do sign Justice Haynes or get Justice Haynes on board as a commitment, you want to start looking at Jamarian Wilcox, who's a running back out of South Paulding that is very, very talented. Georgia hasn't offered yet, but they've stayed in contact and been very upfront with him on what's going on. So I think Jamarian Wilcox is a guy maybe to look at that second running back spot if things work out with Justice Haynes.
Yeah, that's always good to know about those guys because you always got to have somebody in the hip pocket. And you saw what happened several years ago when we waited, and then we took Edwards late, and it worked out extremely well. I could see that happening with this guy. Going on down, we're just stroking the offense right now. We didn't do that great on the offensive line recruiting in the 2022 class. Ernest Green certainly looks like a guy that's going to help us right away. The other's going to have to simmer a little bit and get better. But what do you see on the O-line here for the 2023 class for us going forward here?
But Georgia's really going all in on trying to get TJ Shanahan, trying to get Samson Okunla, two big, talented, athletic tackles. Shanahan could move into guard potentially, but two guys that are up there in that 5-star range that they really, really are after and really want. Dale McGee's helping out on TJ Shanahan, so that tells you how big of a priority he is. So, you know, different kind of approach to offensive line, similar approach actually to the quarterback, right? Go all in on some of those bigger prospects, but then you've also got other guys like Monroe Freeling that they're going after. Shamrad Umarov he's out of Denmark High School in Alpharetta. He's committing on July 8th, so Georgia's in the running there. Connor Liu out of Kennesaw Mountain. There's lots of options in the state actually that Georgia's after, but Okunla and TJ Shanahan are the two that they covet the most right now.
How about Smith down at Columbus?
Yeah, Kelton Smith is a guy that Dale McGee has a great relationship with. I feel like Georgia sits really good for him right now. But again, you know that Columbus area as well as I do. The other schools, Auburn, Florida State, they all try to get in there late in the mix. But I feel like Georgia's done a really good job with Kelton Smith, and you know. I think he's committing later in this month, the 19th, something around that line. So we'll see where Georgia ends up with him. But I think they feel good about Kelton Smith right now.
So would he be somebody we would take if he committed? I
believe Georgia would take that commitment.
All right. Getting back real quickly to those first two you mentioned, just for our fans, you mentioned those 5 stars. Tell us, Shannon and the other kid, where are they exactly from, just for the people that aren't.
So TJ Shanahan was originally from the Orlando, Florida area. His first 2 years of high school, he moved out to Westlake, Texas, out there in Westlake High School and around the Austin area. And he is a guy who, he's being recruited by Texas A&M, being recruited by LSU and Georgia. Those are the 3 he's taking official visits to. And then Samson Okunla is actually out of the Massachusetts area. So him and Jonell Aguirre on the defensive side, both guys are trying to bring in from the New England area.
Yeah, when you said that guy from Denmark High School, I was thinking about the kid from Finland. How are we doing with him?
I don't at this point see Olas Alenin being part of Georgia's class. I think Georgia's worked really hard to try to get in there with him, but some guys have different things that are important to him. I think Miami, Alabama, are more in running for OLOS at this point.
Yeah, they should have had me on the official visit, talk to him. My name is Ole Onson. I come from Sweden.
Hey, you could have nailed it down.
Yeah, so I mean Ole Onson. I like to fish over there. All right, so we're going to go on to.
Hey, Coach, did you ever do any international recruiting yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I went to Mexico. I was good down there. I mean, hat dance. I did it with the mother. We had a good time. Here we go.
That's a good clip right there.
Hey, let's go on to real quickly here. Good job, Dayne, and filling us all in. So we had a tremendous recruiting class secondary-wise last year. I mean, and you add the Washington kid to that who came in for the summer, and he's getting rave reviews here on his workouts. What about our secondary class for 2023? How's that looking?
I mean, AJ Harris is someone that it doesn't matter what class, what year. That is a unbelievable prospect to bring in, and one that looked to be headed elsewhere for a while. Georgia had actually lost some momentum. They bring him in, looking really good, of course, with a corner.
Where AJ's from? Everybody on the show.
AJ is from Phoenix City, Alabama, Central Phoenix over there. So he's a talented guy that they took out of the state of Alabama. You know, they kind of split those guys. Tony Mitchell was a guy that they kind of looked at right there. He ends up going to Alabama. AJ Harris comes to Georgia, and then you've got Caleb Downs that's in the state of Georgia that is Georgia's biggest priority right now, a safety out of Mill Creek High School that Georgia really, really wants. They're battling Ohio State and Alabama for him right now, and I think that could change the entire complexion of the secondary class for Georgia.
Yeah,
One thing about AJ Harris too, real fast, is that
he's going to say something as a general manager because he's from.
I'm not. I'm going to say something as someone that lived in that area.
Hey, that's I just had to bust you, man. Let's go.
Early in his high school career, AJ Harris played at Glenwood School. It's in Smith Station, private Christian school. Level of competition is very slim there. However, transferring to Phoenix City, a 7A team in Alabama at Central High School, and he still was a good player and a star. That says a lot about him.
Well, you know who the best player in Phoenix City, Alabama history was?
Eddie Lowe would tell you it's Eddie Lowe.
Jimmy Red Phillips, 1957, Auburn Tigers, All-American, also played pro football. What a player he was. But we like to bust Dayne in the show, Dayne and Blaine. We could have a good shot.
I know.
Coach, I just wanted to say, do you think that it hurts us that on Caleb Downs that we didn't recruit his brother and offer his brother? You think the family that holds that against Georgia, or I mean, is that a good question, or what's the? I
mean, it can't help, you know, it can't help that they didn't really go all after Josh Downs, who in his own right is a very explosive player, is going to be an NFL receiver hands down. So I'm sure there may be some residual there, but at the same time, Caleb's another side of the ball. Kirby Smart is a defensive-minded head coach. I would feel like there would be enough in the way of, you know, what Georgia offers to maybe overcome that if that were the case. But I think it's just now a battle of who's gonna do more to show that Caleb Downs can be developed and turned into a pro player between Ohio State, Alabama, and Georgia. Arguably, Georgia does that better than anybody with the secondary. But you look at what they're putting together, this class, Coach, it's special between A.J. Harris, Daniel Harris, and Justin Rhett already to back up that 2022 class that you said was a historic DB haul. So if they were to add Caleb Downs to it, watch out for the Georgia secondary for the next, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's helped Ohio State a little bit, just hitting my recruiting part on it, is the fact that they hired this Knowles guy from Oklahoma State as a D coordinator, and they brought in a couple defensive specialists, one from Cincinnati, who coached those corners that got drafted this year by Cincinnati. And I think that's helping them a little bit with their approach. Ohio State's had a really bad defense last couple of years, and now they're trying to say, hey, we got this guy in here and blah, blah, blah. So we'll see how that goes. But, Dayne, you just did an outstanding job today. We're going to give you A+.
Hey, can I ask a follow-up question as a GM here? Because look at Coach's eyes roll.
Go ahead and see if you can screw this one up. Let's go. We had a good set.
I'm down. I am down just to take a dump on the show.
he's going to ask you who's going to be the quarterback for Georgia next year. That's going to be his question.
We all know it's Stetson Bennett, so we don't have to talk about that. He's going to get another year. No, but I'm of the opinion that you want a quarterback in every single class, because in the stat that I'm making up right now, 50% of quarterbacks end up transferring in college. And so, Coach, we already know that like Georgia always has to have arms, if nothing else, for practice squad stuff. Would you not just take a quarterback in 2023 and hope it's a project you can develop?
Now, we've got good walk-ons here. We got guys that can throw. Muschamp's son's still here. They always bring in at least one guy to do that's maybe not on scholarship. So that's one of the best questions you've had. I mean, you really work and you're getting better. So, but it's hard not to take a quarterback every year. But at this point, I thought Blaine set it up pretty good. We were all in on Manning. I mean, at this point, there's so many guys that are already committed everywhere. You're just not going to go in and take a guy just to come in and hopefully that he's going to be on the come and make it. So, but anything from you, Roddy? Are you on the show today? I mean,
I'm here. I'm just laughing. Hey, Blaine, you did a great job. Appreciate it. Now get back to work. I know that we interrupted your busy recruiting day. So get your butt back to work, because we need content on the front page as usual.
Good job by Blaine. And Blaine just does a tremendous job, as Jed will talk about, of interviewing these prospects. And sometimes these guys talk to them more than the coaches do. And these guys open up, and you get a lot of good stuff on the Rival site here. So how much is it, Roddy? How do they sign up?
Hey, it's 27 cents a day. Just go to UGASports.com, sign up, and you get all the recruiting news. And Blaine actually has a recruiting show. He and Jed, they do a Rumors versus Facts show every Monday at 8:15. They didn't do it on the 4th of July, the losers, but any other week, you can catch them on this same YouTube channel, 8:15. But if you really want the good stuff, because that's all the free stuff. If you want the behind-the-scenes stuff, the scoop, go to UGASports.com, sign up. It's $99 a year, 27 cents a day. So
also, Ruddy, they can see why I didn't have the show, because we almost blew ourselves up on the 4th of July with the malfunction fireworks. So, there's all kinds of stuff. You can see that on the vault too. So it's good stuff. But appreciate you guys having me on.
Good job.
Good job, right. Stumpy. We'll see you later.
That's it.
Oh, good. Sorry, hit the wrong button there. I do want to point out, Coach, a couple of those guys that we were talking about. Justin Rhett is the cornerback out of Las Vegas, Nevada, that they mentioned. That is the number 60 player in the nation. Daniel Harris is the number 2, out of Miami. He's number 214. And AJ Harris, I believe, is number 27. So I know rankings aren't, they aren't perfect. But point being, you've got 3 players in the top 200 in the nation already committed to Georgia secondary. And, of course, Caleb Downs is the number 1 safety in America. So back-to-back already strong recruiting classes in the secondary. So very impressive what they're doing.
I would just point out 2 people here. Ladd McConkey and Kamari Wilson. Come on.
Kamari Lassiter?
I mean, certainly Kamari Wilson, but Kamari Lassiter is the one that's here. Not really that highly recruited, either one of them, but both going to be starters for Georgia next year. So, I mean, the thing that we have over anybody in the country, I think, is the way Kirby can evaluate defensive backs. I mean, look at Lewis Seen. People trying to figure out what he was going to do. Look at the quality of defensive backs getting recruited. And you're going to see, we had the kid playing for Green Bay this year.
Eric Stokes.
And then Campbell starting for the Jaguars right in the secondary. And then Tyreek Stevenson's going to get drafted this year out of Miami. It's just the way it goes. We got players.
Hey, Coach, Novak Djokovic just came back from 2 sets down to beat Yannick Sinner in Wimbledon.
Yeah, I mean, that was a good comeback, but looked like he didn't know what he was doing the first 2 sets. But
Roddy, your comment?
We're looking at a Nadal Djokovic final. I mean, that's what's going to happen. So we'll see how it goes. But so, Roddy, who's bringing us this show today? Give us a good because I can't wait to tell everybody what's going to happen on these big conferences.
Yeah, I do want to mention our friends over at Academic Brewing Company, and then the main reason being, I was looking this past weekend, and they had this, they do it every month. They had an amazing car show, and it was just one of those days that I couldn't get over there. I wanted to go check out all the amazing looking cars. It's a classic car show. I mean, the pictures that were posted were just killing me. I really want to go see it. But I will be able to get redemption this coming Thursday. This Thursday night is bike night. So you can check it out. It's they do it the first Thursday of every month. Of course, the month started on a Friday. So basically in a couple of days on the 7th of July, you can go out to Academia Brewing Company and check out bike night. All these motorcycles will be out there. It's a fun event. You definitely need to hit it up. And of course, they have some new beers out there. They always have something new, and they have great food. But they have, like I said, they have comedy shows. They have the beer and biscuit brunch, live music. There's always something going on at Academia Brewing Company, so check them out. But if you really want to do something fun, go out there this night for bike night. It's a lot of fun with the Litas Athens group will be there as well. And, of course, I also want to mention our friends at Dead Soxy. I had someone who tried them recently say, I always wore these Baliga socks. There's really ridiculously expensive socks, and that was their go-to.
Don't be doing free plugs for other companies. This is Dead Soxy.
They were talking about how great their socks were. They would never change socks, but we got them to try some of the Dead Soxy ones. I think it was back when maybe around Christmas or so. But he said, "Hey, these are the most comfortable socks I've ever worn. They're more comfortable than the more expensive socks." And he apparently really likes the what do you call it, the seam on them, because it's a flat seam. He's like, "This is comfortable." I'm like, "Great." To me, they're just super comfortable. So that's what they're made of. Soft, so that's why I like them. The seam is nice. The flat seams are good, especially if you do a lot of running or jogging, something like that. You don't have them pressing down against your toes. But just want to point out an actual unsolicited testimonial from somebody who buys ridiculously expensive socks. They got less expensive socks that are a better fit and they're more comfortable. So do that. Check out Dead Soxy. If you don't like them, then they'll give you your money back, but you probably can't be pleased because these are the best damn socks in the world. All right, Coach, I did want to talk to you a little bit about the whole USC UCLA thing. I get why they're doing it, but this just kind of came out of left field the other day, and I'm trying to think about the basketball teams. If you play for the Trojans, you had a Wednesday night home game, then Saturday you're going all the way across the country. Then the following Wednesday, when you got to go all the way across the country again before you get a home game. Give me your thoughts on this conference expansion. This just seems odd.
Well, here's what you got to look at. Let's look at TV revenue. Pac-12 is getting ready to try to do something about their revenue, and they're getting like $30 million a year. That's what every school's getting. That's not enough to subsidize all these minor sports, and I don't mean they're minor sports, but non-revenue, Olympic sport, non-revenue. So all of a sudden, instead of getting $30 million a year, you're going to get a minimum of $100 million a year, 3 times as much by going to the Big Ten. You can't get too caught up in these trips and these. I think they'll work out some kind of way where they have an Eastern and Western division and all that, and they might not have but so many matches a year for the tennis team, and maybe have a couple of tournaments where everybody goes to one side, or same thing for golf and things like that. That remains to be seen, but you just got to look at the way everything's trending in college athletics is towards the super conferences. To be able to get this TV, and as soon as within 15 minutes of when they said they were getting accepted by the Big Ten, Apple TV, the last time I saw something on sports on Apple TV was the first time I've ever seen anything. So they're going to bid with all their billions of dollars for the rights to the Big Ten Conference, along with Amazon. So they're going to compete with Fox and ESPN and say, look, this is how much money we're going to do to give you all these games. So who knows what we might be streaming all of this stuff. But what we're going towards, and the only thing I'll tell you about this show, when I tell you a sure thing, I back it. Sure thing, there's going to be 2 at least 20 team conferences between the Big Ten and the SEC. Miami, Florida State, Clemson, and North Carolina are going to be in the SEC pretty quick. North Carolina's basketball helps them a lot along those lines, but those 4 teams are going to be coming in here to go along with maybe a couple more from the West Coast. You're seeing today in the Pac-12, 4 teams there. Colorado, Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State are meeting with the Big 12 today about going into their conference. So if they do that, the Pac-12 is going to be on life support. All you got left is Stanford, Oregon State, and Washington. You got to believe that Washington and Oregon are viable to a lot of conferences, particularly the Big Ten. If you get them in there too, then you got a whole half of the Pac-12 coming into the Big Ten. Virginia and Pitt are very viable going to the Big Ten with their Eastern market. When you look up and down the Eastern Seaboard, all the markets with Virginia Beach, Richmond, all that stuff coming in there, and you add that to the Maryland already in the Big Ten, Rutgers in the Big Ten, and then you bring Pittsburgh, the whole state of Pennsylvania. So all of a sudden, Big Ten is going to be fighting just like SEC. And what we're going to see is 8 or 12 team playoff. And when that bid comes up in 2025 for the playoffs, it's going to be monumental. Right now, ESPN's got that. But all of a sudden, when you got 8 or 12 team vying for that, who knows what's going to happen. So
write these teams down that you said. Give me that again.
Well, he said Miami. He said Florida State. He said North Carolina. And was it Clemson?
Right.
Okay. My question, my follow-up, would Duke and North Carolina be willing to be in different conferences?
I don't think North Carolina's in a position to worry too much about Duke. I mean, Duke's, Duke basketball is what's going to help them, but their football has been terrible the last 7 or 8 years. Cutcliffe did a good job, but they don't draw anybody to their football games. And you look at these teams, and when you sit around like I got time like Roddy, and we sit around and watch all this stuff, but I don't know if he does it or not. He's always on this political stuff. But the thing that you see is what do these when a marquee game is on, Oklahoma or Texas is on in the Big 12, then you got a pretty good Fox. At 12 o'clock, Fox gets a lot of people watching. But who else? People aren't watching Texas Tech and TCU. They're not watching Kansas and Kansas State. So all of a sudden, Big 12's got to have something to show these people that are bidding for their rights. That now we've got Colorado, Utah, all these teams coming in, and even though they're also got the teams that we know they're coming in there. When Oklahoma and Texas left, they picked up Cincinnati, University of Central Florida, a couple more teams into the Big 12, but that's going to be 2 more years. So what you're going to see maybe is Oklahoma and Texas might be able to get in our league in 2023 instead of 2024, 2025, I think, with all these teams moving around. The one thing I would say is everybody was barking on this guy last year, Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten, particularly when they were sitting around not knowing what to do 2 years ago about COVID. He didn't have any experience coming in from the NBA and all that. He was
ridiculed.
This guy's sitting in the catbird seat right now with those. And I saw where Smith, the athletic director at Ohio State, was asking about the Big Ten and SEC. He said, hey, we've been on different trends here the last few years, but all of a sudden we're picking our stuff up. And really they are. I mean, because as much as we as Southerners love our football and love the traditions and all, let me tell you something. Those people in Ohio and Michigan and there's a lot of big stadiums up there. Even the teams that aren't the best ones, Iowa Hawkeye fans, they're loyal as everything can be. So there's a lot of people that live in the Northeast and the Midwest, a lot more than maybe the Southern states. So these TV dollars are going to be generated. So,
well, let me add some context on the TV dollars piece real fast.
It's a brilliant move by UCLA and USC getting in the league, and it was just a brilliant move.
What you said about Apple TV Plus is a big deal. And you said you hadn't seen sporting events on there, and you're pretty much right, though they have been dipping their toe in the water with Major League Baseball. I think they have a Friday night package where they show one baseball game a week right now. So that they're dipping the toe in the sports water. Assuming that continues to go well, I think that, like you said, Coach, it's not really a competition with media companies because Apple has so much more money than an ESPN or a Fox.
Well, here's the other thing. When you look at Apple TV, watch next year, Thursday Night Football, Amazon. They just hired Kirk Herbstreit and the guy that does the Sunday night for NBC. What was his name? The short guy that
I know you're talking about.
Al Michaels. They hired Kirk Herbstreit and Al Michaels to be their lead guys, and they're paying Kirk like twice as much as he makes for ESPN just for the Thursday night game. And
that's nuts. Yeah, that was we mentioned this maybe a year ago, talking about people going after rights, and it was like, oh, Fox versus CBS, and then you start talking about the parent companies. Like, wait a minute, when Disney decides they want something, okay, that's impressive. But when you start talking Amazon and Google, and Alphabet's trying to get a hold of something, it's like, okay, I don't care how big ESPN thinks you are a rounding error when it comes to Amazon, and the people are getting more and more used to the idea of streaming, because how many people have said, I would cut my cords except for live sports? And people realize that. They're like, we don't have anybody that says, hey, I got to be here. When was the last time everybody was watching the same TV show? It just doesn't happen. No one's turning around, to watch Cheers Thursday at 8:00 like they used to. Now it's everyone's streaming it. Did you see this show? Did you watch it on vacation? It's not happening except for live sports. The only time you see everybody on the same page on Twitter is when they're watching live sports. Amazon sees this. Google, Apple TV sees this, and so they got more money. And how much more? I mean, they've got all this money in reserve. What the hell are they doing with it? They're going to go grit these sports. So that's a great point, Coach. I had not thought about TV coming in.
Here's what I want to make sure of to clarify that. Apple was not going to bid on the Big Ten rights.
Yeah.
And then when UCLA and USC came in, now all of a sudden, the whole country, and it's a different ball game. And of course, they're licking their chops because they know they're going to bring that up even more. One of the things that some of these smaller conferences do is on these rights fees, they don't give the same amount of money to every school in the conference because of all the teams that draw all the money don't feel like it's right. So, but you don't have any of that now with the larger schools. But Vanderbilt, I mean, they give them a lot of credit. I mean, they're in their league. They get beat. They did great in men's golf and stuff like that this year, but they get a lot of money, and probably they don't need it with all their endowment. That's the thing about Duke and Stanford. I mean, both of them got so much endowment, it really doesn't matter. But I would say Stanford and Duke, really look what's going to happen with them. Also, Kansas and Kansas State. I could see Kansas going into the Big East and playing basketball and as an independent in football. But the biggest caveat, we're getting ready to bring Jed Bay in here, the biggest caveat in the whole ball of wax, what's Notre Dame going to do?
You took the question right out of my mouth. I want to ask you that.
If Notre Dame goes Big Ten, we'll see what happens. Their rights are coming up. They have their rights for their games, home games that NBC has, but they got to look at, hey, that's not as near as much money as we could get $100 million going in and playing in a league. And right now they play in the ACC in all sports except football as far as the championship. They got a new coach. Their athletic director's been on the cutting edge. But if all of us
take them instead of Clemson, Coach. Bring them to the SEC.
What's that?
Take Notre Dame instead of Clemson.
What about?
I'm just saying Notre Dame's looking for a spot. Tell Clemson, oh, no, the door closed. We're taking Notre Dame instead.
Well, the SEC would take Notre Dame and a New York man if anybody would.
Go after them.
But I think if I'm them, I'd go to the Big Ten just because. But all of a sudden, the Big Ten, as much as I like the SEC, if all of a sudden you got Oregon coming in along with Notre Dame, plus UCLA and USC, I mean, that Big Ten is pretty tough.
I know we have to transition, but we have a couple questions. So 10 seconds or less, Coach. What does all this mean for Georgia Tech?
I'm a rambling wreck from Georgia Tech and a heck of an engineer. There's going to be a lot of engineers up there, man. There's going to be. I don't think there's going to be a lot of pro football players because I don't know what's going to happen to them. I can't see them getting in. If they went to any league, I would think it would be the Big Ten. I don't see them getting in the SEC. Nothing against them, but
no.
I mean,
you sound so sad about it.
We do have something against them, but
yeah, we do. Hey, let's bring in Jed May. He's our other recruiting writer at UGASports.com. Between he and Blaine Gilmer and Trent and even Paul sometimes. Paul does a good job when he get off his roofing job and be out there doing some stuff. But Jed's our travel guy. He's constantly on the road checking people out, and that's a great thing at UGASports.com. We don't write stories about what people said. We actually Jed, and he goes on site and sees these kids. He just went up to see Jamal Jarrett, the number 2 defensive tackle in the nation up in North Carolina. Brought back some barbecue. The real reason we send him on the road is to bring back food. But let's bring Jed on, and Coach, go ahead and hit Jed up with some questions.
Jed, you look like you're on the golf course, man. What's that where you are?
I am, man. Took a family vacation to Ohio for 4th of July week, so today was our golf outing. But when Coach Donnan summons you to be on UGA Sports Live, you kind of make it work. So
how you playing right now?
Awful, absolutely horrible. So me, my dad, and one of our cousins are playing like a scramble deal going on, and we're 3 over through 8. We just bogeyed par 5.
You got to get an eraser on your pencil there and change that scorecard.
Need to get a new eraser. We're 3 over with an eraser.
So let's just get right to it here, Jed. Tell us how long before Jarrett commits, and what do you think the chances are?
So he's got a planned commitment date of July 19th. I believe that's his birthday, his mom, or some birthday involved. And he's got a top 3 of Georgia, Auburn, North Carolina. I think it's the real 2 are Georgia and North Carolina. I like Georgia's chances here. I think Georgia has shown the belief in him from day one, right? Because we heard all these comparisons once he popped up on Georgia's radar of, a huge guy, lower recruited from North Carolina. You get the obvious Jordan Davis comparisons, right? So I think the belief that Trey Scott has shown in it from day one, they've made him pretty much their top defensive line priority in this class, especially when you look at interior defensive line. So I like Georgia's chances. I think North Carolina is in this purely for the appeal of playing at home. But I think Georgia's going to win out, and he's going to be a Bulldog come July 19th.
What about his relationship with the kid that signed with them last year? Does that have any bearing on it at all?
I mean, it does. Travis Shaw is a guy that when I was talking to his coach and I was up there, he learned a lot from, especially as far as how the recruiting process works and all that kind of stuff. But Jamal actually had a Ask Me Anything on Instagram a few weeks ago. And one of the questions was, what's the most annoying thing you hear or something? It says, these people telling me to go to North Carolina and play with Trav. It just gets on my nerves. So he's definitely not he's not going to if he goes to North Carolina, it won't be because of the teaming up with Travis Shaw. That would be that would be cool for him, I'm sure, but it's not like that's the reason that North Carolina's at towards the top of this list.
Okay, that's good to know about that. Let's go. We had our man Blaine Gilmer on early, and he talked about some people, but one of the things I feel good about listening to you and watching your stuff on our website is your, as Ronnie mentioned, interaction with players. We go and actually talk to one. How do you feel about our linebacker class for this coming season coming in, and where do we stand, and how many guys do we going to take, and do we really going to get bowls, or how's it looking?
That's what it looks. I mean, you figure they're going to take at least 3 guys, because especially when you look at this last year at the 22 class, no one really knows what's going to happen with Cedric Washington and his football future, and that's obviously nothing you can know about when you sign him. But it's one of those unfortunate things where you bring him in as a talented inside linebacker in that class, and all of a sudden he suffers this neck injury, and everything's kind of up for grabs. So they've added CJ Allen, which is a great foundational starting off piece for the class, and then they look really good for Troy Bowles. We've been telling people at UGASports, Georgia's looked good for Raylan Wilson, while Wilson was still committed to Michigan, and obviously he decommitted just the other day. So I like where Georgia sits for both of those guys, and you think kind of seems impossible that they would add those 2 guys on top of CJ Allen, a guy who, in my opinion, is really underrated for us. But that's what, if I was a betting man, I'd say they get all 3 of those guys right now.
So real quick, just for the fans that aren't reading your stuff, tell us where Allen and Bowles and where these guys are from real quickly, and then we'll go to the next one.
So CJ Allen is an in-state guy. He is from, I want to say Barnesville, Lamar County. I know. I'm pretty sure that's Barnesville. Troy Bowles is from, I believe, Jacksonville, Tampa.
No,
his father
he plays in Tampa.
Yeah, because his father obviously is Todd Bowles, the head coach for the Buccaneers. And then you got Raylan Wilson, who's from Tallahassee, was committed to Michigan, decommitted, I want to say within the past week, I'm pretty sure. So all 3 of those guys, Georgia's been in on a lot. They've been on Bowles since the beginning. They've been on Wilson even while he was committed to Michigan. So they look good. Obviously, they look good for CJ Allen, being that he's committed, but they look really good for the other 2 as well.
So we know we lost the kid to Texas, and you just mentioned Jarrett from Greensboro. Anybody else in line that's really a priority at this point?
So they're looking at Jordan Hall out of Jacksonville. He actually just released not that top 10s really mean anything necessarily, but Georgia's in his top 10. They're still in on James Smith out of Alabama. He is big buddies with Quay Russaw, so there's the typical, could they be a package deal type thing? I don't necessarily know about that, but they've been to Georgia together a lot. And then, it's kind of hard nowadays because there's so many, like, is a guy a 3 technique? Is he an edge? Is he a pure interior? There's so many different ways these guys can go. Like Kelby Collins, also out of Alabama, took an official at Georgia a couple weeks ago. He's a guy that he could be that Trayvon Walker mold. He could bulk up and play inside. There's a whole lot of different ways he could go. But as far as interior guys, Jarrett's at the top of the list. And then I'd probably say I think James Smith is number 2 on the wish list, but I think they're more likely to get Jordan Hall. I think James Smith is probably too good for Alabama.
Yeah, everybody knows about Georgia's the tight end room that we have right now, and we've got Delp coming in. Tell us about these tight ends we've got for 2023, Lucky and the other Spurling.
Yeah, if anyone has been hankering for, longing for the days of Chris Durham, Pierce Spurling's your guy. He's a really tall, fluid route runner. I mean, I think he's obviously listed as a tight end. I think he could be listed as a receiver for rivals and not really miss a beat. He's a receiver in a tight end's body. I think his biggest thing, and I think this has been an adjustment for Oscar Delp too, is going to be adjusting to the blocking demands of a tight end in the SEC and what Georgia asks their tight ends to do. Lawson Lucky physically is more like a traditional tight end, but he's got great ball skills. I mean, I watched him play against, I want to say it was Milton in the playoffs last year, and Norcross needs a late drive, and they threw up, I think, 3 straight jump balls to Lawson Lucky on a last-ditch drive, and he came down with all of them. It's kind of like, why haven't you been doing this all game? So, but yeah, those 2 guys. And then you look at, I mean, there's chances, like they've involved with Deuce Robinson, who's a guy I believe he's the number 1 tight end. Georgia's involved, but I think the tight end class is shaping up where they're not going to take another guy unless a guy were to leave. And at this point, it doesn't seem like there's going to be any transfers before the season. And then after the season, a lot of these guys' recruitments might be wrapped up. So right now, it looks like Spurling and Lucky is probably going to be how the tight end class shakes out.
Good points. Okay, final question here. Wide receiver wise, how do you think we stand right now, and what does it look like for anybody else that we're going after?
Yeah, wide receiver is that's the year plus I've been here. People ask about wide receiver recruiting a lot. When's Georgia going to sign a 5-star receiver? So I think when you're looking at 5-star receiver, just got Hakeem Williams, who it kind of seems like a Georgia and A&M battle there. Georgia seemed like the leader, then A&M got in for reasons you can interpret on your own. And there's but you look at a guy like Tyler Williams. Georgia looks in a good spot for Tyler Williams. There's Anthony Evans, Georgia. Blaine posted a note on him the other day that he's.
When you mention these guys, tell them where they're from too, because we got a bunch of people here that don't
Tyler
know.
Williams is out of Florida. Hakeem Williams is out of Miami. Anthony Evans, I believe, is from Texas. So there's those three. There's Jalen Hale, also out of Texas, and that's the one where he came on the official visit with Arch Manning, and people are like, okay, Arch Manning and Hale, like package deal. And then Arch has obviously gone to Texas, but I think Georgia still sits in a really good spot with Jalen Hill. He had an interview with one of our national writers not that long ago. Said Georgia's number 1, USC is number 2. So that's really interesting to see, especially since that interview was after Arch Manning's commitment. So yeah, if Georgia can land one of those guys and then you bring in some complementary pieces around them, I think this could be a good receiver class. But there's so many moving pieces involved right now. It's going to be interesting to see how McClendon closes his first full class.
All right, really good job, Jed. And I know I speak for Radi and Dayne and everybody on the site. It's go in there cold on the guy and develop a relationship. And I think that's one of the things that you've really done a tremendous job here in your first year working for Georgia, going in there and come on, Radi, talk to him. I mean, he goes in there and he gets a lot of stuff from these guys. I guarantee
Roddy said if I keep it up, he'll start paying me in food next year as opposed to just like lottery tickets.
He's still got his first grade lunch money, so we'll
Hey, man.
Hey,
Jed, did you want to?
Hey, hope to get back a few burgers there. Get your mind back on, and please apologize to them for us taking you away. But we appreciate you being on with us.
Absolutely, guys. Anytime. Hopefully, I'll make a few birdies for y'all in this back nine.
Did you want to hit a shot on air while Roddy goes to the next ad and talks about your pie? That's gonna be a no. It looks like he doesn't want to do it.
Are we ready to tee off right here? Oh, we're letting 2 guys play through. So
all right,
I totally would. But
I was trying to embarrass you on air.
Next time. Oh, that would have embarrassed me on air. Well, I got you guys next time.
Well, he'll hurt his hand again. So,
All right.
yeah, the last couple times Jed's played golf, he came back with a brace on his hand. So, but that's the type of guy he is. Jed's always working. I'm glad he's actually got a chance to play some golf because
I didn't realize golf was a contact sport.
Apparently, the way he hit the club, he didn't hit it fat. He just did something when he hit the ball, and it made his hand hurt. And
I tell you the best story on the golf course for somebody that's just real quick here. Sue Paterno never played golf, and they were trying to get some women to play in this deal that we were at this fundraiser, and so she said she'd play. So she goes out to the first tee marker, and you know how they have yellow things for the markers and everything? She lined up on that and tried to hit that. Hit the tee. She thought that's what she hit. The worst I've ever seen. I mean, and fortunately, we stopped her before she put the club on it, but it was pretty bad.
Oh, that would have been bad. That's maybe what Jed did when he busted his hand, but I teased him about it because his hand, he couldn't shoot pictures while he's out on doing all these interviews, and I gave him 9 types of hell about it. That his hand healed up and he went and played again and hurt it a second time. I'm like, dude, stop playing golf. But he's fine now. So I'm glad you joined.
Thing here because about every 5 years I tell the Switzer weed story on Paterno, but we got to do it because Coach Paterno is a good guy. But they were on this Nike trip back when I was coaching at Oklahoma, and Switzer told the story. They were down in Cancun, and Switzer's walking on the beach. And this local guy comes up to him and asks him if he wants some weed. And the Switzer said, no, I don't want it. He said, but that guy up there with the banana glasses, horn-rimmed glasses, up standing on the pool talking to people, he's been looking for some weed all day. It was Paterno. This guy walks up to Paterno unassuming. He thinks Paterno wants the weed, and he goes up there and starts trying to hit him in front of all these people. It was hilarious, man.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, if you want weed, well, we can't help you there, but we can help you with some THC products. If you check out our friends over at Rogue, the Rogue Shop, they have a July 4th special going on. We don't normally mention them on this show because they advertise one of our other ones, but just because it's on sale, I want people to know they have a 30% off deal at the Rogue Shop. Go check them out. It's the promo code is July 4, and that sale is going to go on through the 8th because that's he doesn't want it to be. You might be busy on July 4th trying to blow stuff up. So, but no, they have a bunch of THC products, non-THC products, CBD oils. So if that's in your bailiwick, hit our friends over at the Rogue Shop when you get a chance. I do want to mention our friends over at Your Pie. It's very important that we mention them because it's just one of the best places to eat, and they've been a sponsor of our show for maybe since the inception of podcasts. So the Your Pie folks have been around a really long time. We appreciate them doing what they do. I always talk about their pizzas and ordering on Tuesday because it's important to get your points in on Tuesday, get the double points. But I do want to mention they make sandwiches over there. So go try their Chicken Bacon Club, the buffalo chicken sandwich. I had the buffalo chicken sandwich over at Classic City Eats when we did the last show. Well, there's a buffalo chicken sandwich at Your Pie you need to try out. Of course, they also have a pesto turkey if you really enjoy something light. And, of course, my favorite sandwich over there, the Nono's Italian sandwich, has provolone, spinach, tomatoes, red onions, ham, pepperoni, and salami, and is served with a balsamic vinaigrette that balsamic vinaigrette is fantastic. I know people can make it, but you wind up taking the sandwich and you're running it around the balsamic vinaigrette because you don't want to let a drop of it get away. So hit up our friends at Your Pie when you get a chance. You'll be very, very pleased on the sandwich side. I also want to mention our friends out at Athens Ford. They are getting more and more vehicles. I've been noticing that trend line go up. When you go to their website, athensford.com, the big banner at the top says how many vehicles they have available right now. They're up to 222 vehicles. So you can go out there and know that the lot is actually full. They've got a great service area. Had someone that had to get their car serviced, and they have a shuttle. They drove them back to their house. They said, look, drop your car off here. We'll give you a ride home. We'll take care of you. We'll pick you up when it's done. Of course, they're not going to go 100 miles, but I mean, it's within the Athens area. They have a shuttle, so you don't have to worry about, hey, I need somebody to take me to drop my car off. So again, it's just because they do full service. They've been there 10 years. They have a ridiculously loyal clientele because they take care of their customers and they take care of us. So if you need a new or pre-owned vehicle, hit up our friends at Athens Ford. They will take care of you. All right.
Question time, right?
Yeah, let's hit up some questions. We got about 7 minutes left in the show or so.
Yeah, let's go rapid fire here.
Speed round. Here we go from Cola Dog 21 at UGASports.com. Realistic expectations for the defense this year, and then who's going to take the biggest jump in on-field impact?
I feel like our defense is going to be outstanding this year. 2 different reasons. One, we're reloading on the talent level. We got good players, but it's not a lot of experience at certain areas. But we've got 3 of the top 10 players in the country, and Jalen Carter, Keely Ringo, and Nolan Smith, all 3 high draft choices. And we've got some really good young players coming in at linebacker and at inside defensive interior. But the other reason we're going to be good is our offense is going to be putting a lot of points on the board. So we're going to be playing from ahead all the time. So people are going to try to be catching up with us so we can play more nickel and dime defense. And when you're ahead, you can play a lot loosey-goosey. Not that you don't have the pressure on you like you do in the tight-fit games, although probably help us to have some of those. But I don't see our defense having a big drop itself.
From Billy Zane, just how open will the quarterback battle be this fall? Would Stetson need to totally wet the bed not to start, or will it be given like an open competition in practice?
Yeah, I don't see any open competition at all because here's a relative close. I mean, the guy's as close to being a sure thing as anybody in the country except Alabama coming back. I mean, he just outstanding end of the year last year when you look at the last two games he had. So I think there'll be more competition for number 2 for sure, and they'll get to work with the 1 some to see how they can do, just to see how they react against good players. But it's closed. I mean, it's a closed competition.
Know-it-all dog. I guess you don't know it all asking this question, but I love the question anyway. Does Georgia go 12-0 in the regular season?
Hard to win every game. I mean, you barely see a team win every game, all these national champions over the last few years. But realistically, we're going to have to lose in the regular season. We're going to have a game like South Carolina 3 years ago. That'll be how we would not be 12-0, in my opinion. We're going to have to stub our toe, have some bad plays, interceptions, penalties, and all that. We all going to listen to me as a coach, but you always talk about number 1, you have to avoid losing before you win. You got to eliminate the penalties, the mistakes, the turnovers, the mental errors, the penalties. Those are the things that decide games. There's 4 or 5 plays in every game, in a tight game, that could go either way, and you got to make those plays in the tight games. But as I mentioned in the previous question, I see our team being a very wide open offense. It's going to score a lot of points. We'll have a really good kicking game, and we're going to be hard to beat on defense because we can run so good. I mean, sometimes you get beat at the point of attack, but you have that catch-up ability with your quickness. Ringo a lot of times got beat off the line last year, but he just has such unbelievable speed catching up. And 12-0 is hard to do. I mean, hard to win every game.
From PA Dog 610, Coach, who's your impact true freshman, 1 on offense, 1 on defense?
I'd say either Everett in the back end or Williams up front on defense. Offense, it's going to be hard for anybody to have that big an impact. Maybe Ernest Green in the offensive line because we need a tackle. Maybe one of those running backs because we need another back. But I don't see a lot of freshmen playing on our offense right now.
I throw Jalen Walker in that mix too, just because Georgia is going to have some new guys at inside linebacker.
Defense, yeah. I mean, he's going to be in the top 4.
Yeah. Red and Black in the Day has 3 questions, but we'll do these rapid fire. When you talk about the importance of team cohesion, are you talking about the overall team, or can the offense and defense gel independently of one another?
Well, I think you certainly gel independently because you spend so much time practicing doing your own stuff. But you got to understand the elements of a game, how each of them intertwine with each other. I mean, field position based on whether the defense can get them on turnover, whether you put the defense in bad position on turnovers, your kicking game, where you start the ball. All that stuff helps you develop a kind of a team identity that really helps you understand that it is a team situation. That the offense has to do things. The defense. One of the things every head coach does on Sunday, talking to his team in the team meeting, is to go over who the next team is and its relative strengths. It might be, hey, we're playing a really good defensive team this week, so defense is probably going to not be able to shut them down. Offense, you're going to have to score points here. We're not going to win this game 10-3. We're going to need to get some points. So the sooner you can get that across about what the offense needs to do to supplement the defense and vice versa, the better it's going to be. So it's a little bit of both.
A pair of wishbone questions. What's the number 1 attribute a wishbone quarterback should have?
Ride and decide. You got to be able to ride that fullback and decide whether to give or take. And the sooner you figure that out, and you can get the ball to the second level. I mean, so if you just look at the defense and start out, number 4 has the pitch. Number 3's got the quarterback. Number 2 could get the dive. And you got to be able to get that, get the ball to number 4 where you can pitch it on the perimeter. That's how you win. But I've also won games where we couldn't stop the fullback, and we just always said, hey, let that fullback hit his head on the goalpost. They're going to go. Let him keep rolling that sucker right up in. But I would ride and decide, and then number two, estimate the defensive intent. What can they do from how they line up? I mean, a guy can't play the fullback if he's lined up outside the tackle a long way. The number one thing we really evolved in our wishbone attack was we made a bigger split between the guard and tackle than normal. And what that did was made the defensive tackle have to declare whether he was going to take the fullback or not. If he was a 4 technique, he's going to have to really close down a little bit because of that wide split. And if they wouldn't split, wouldn't come inside that split, we wore them out with a fullback. But that's nobody wants to hear about that. So
well, he did, because then he also asked in the wishbone offense, how do you overcome the lack of a tight end?
Well, the first thing you do is recruit Keith Jackson. And, then you don't worry. It was one night against some of these really bad teams and even against a good team. I spent more time worrying about how I was going to get the ball to Keith Jackson than I did anything, because we weren't going to throw him but maybe 2 or 3 passes a game. And, he was glad to get those, but we put in the tight end reverse and stuff like that. But easily next to Champ Bailey, the best player ever coached, the guy could do anything. And he's done really well with his foundation in Arkansas. He's been a tremendous contributor to society with all he's done for these young kids in Little Rock. I'm so proud of Keith. And that guy is a complete stallion now. I mean, the guy could catch punts at 6'5", 250. He could dunk a basketball. He could play the cello. I'm not making this up. He played the cello. I mean, his mother made him play the cello. Unfortunately, he passed away about 3 months ago. I know to him about a little bit, but she was a great lady and really had a lot to do with Keith's success. I mean, she rode him hard and made him do a lot of things academically, and he's just a tremendous athlete. But if you don't have a tight end, then you can use 2 splits, which is really good. I mean, lining up a tight end into the boundary, you can split both wide receivers, and then they got to decide what are they going to do on run support. Are they going to play cover 2 and then have no safeties in the alley, or what are they going to – 2 splits are pretty good. We used to split Keith out, and he used to really make defensive coordinators mad because they would make their call based on the tight end, So that's
Nope.
I think the internet gave up for Coach.
Yeah, because he only bought 60 minutes worth.
so.
I know. He's on that plane. Okay. Let's sneak in these last 3 real fast. 1970 Dog, I'm concerned about recruiting. Should I be?
What's his name?
1970 Dog.
Come on into 2022, 1970. No, don't worry about it. Go on out and have a beer today. I mean, we're going to finish. We're going to finish strong. I mean, we never have. It's too early, but we'll finish good. But I'm not trying to be smart. But hey, we're going to finish strong.
Eufaula Dog. What are the Dogs' chances to land Smith and Russaw out of Carver Montgomery?
I think Smith for sure, the offensive tackle. I'm not familiar with the other guy. What does he play, Rod?
Okay, Russo. I have to look him up.
If he's from Carver and we want him, we'll get him. I mean, that's Dell McGee.
Well, it's Carver, Montgomery, Alabama, not Carver, Columbus. But still, that's his territory. I know what you're saying. I just want to make sure listeners know we're not talking about Carver High School in Columbus.
I thought Smith was from Carver.
Well, the question is talking about Carver High School in Montgomery.
That's the edge defender. Remember.
Should have asked the other guys. I'm sorry, I don't know all that stuff. All right, what's the last thing?
Final one. Do you think the SEC will take a stab at adding Notre Dame in the conference, or is it a foregone conclusion that Notre Dame winds up in the Big Ten eventually?
Sure, we'll make an offer to them. I mean, it's too good a caveat. I mean, you gotta go for them if you can. I mean, national name. Can you imagine if we got those 4 teams that I talked about, and then we had Notre Dame, Oregon, and Washington? I mean,
can we do the watch along in Miami when that happens?
Yeah, I mean, hey, we can do it anywhere. Do it from Joe's Stone Crab. I'll get
I was
you.
about to say, I know where coach is going to do the show from. That was a slam.
I hope that our fans will make some kind of. I mean, the fans. The people that watch us will make some comments about, any ideas that, like today, Roddy had these two guys on there. I thought they really had a lot of value. If there's anything else you want on the show, it's your show, particularly in the summer where we're trying to figure out things to do. But our players
are bored of us, Roddy.
Our players.
I need somebody else.
Our players have been on break. They're coming back tomorrow. I'm glad they had a chance to get home and do some things. And now we're getting to that grind. We're getting ready to do a lot of 7-on-7 and stuff like that. And it'll be good for we'll be playing the Oregon Ducks.
I love it. Well, before we get there, folks, as Coach says, put your any show suggestions, anything you want, put it in the comment section. We will definitely look into it. If it's something we can pull off, then we absolutely will. We'll hopefully have a few more guests come on. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday at noon. We will have another show. We'll have some more recruiting updates. And between now and then, 1970 Dog, be sure to check out some of the updates at UGASports.com. I know you're a member there, but I think some of the stuff that's coming up should be very heartening for the folks that are worried about recruiting. July is going to be a good month for the Bulldogs. I know they've missed on a few, but don't discount Kirby when it comes to recruiting. It's always June and July are always a little thin, it feels like, but he's going to end July very strongly.
Now, let me ask you guys real quick. This is a rhetorical question. Who would you say our number one rival in SEC is? You got to say Alabama, right?
Yeah.
I think Georgia's biggest rival is Florida, but in terms of competition, it's Alabama.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So aren't we about 12 places ahead of them in recruiting right now?
Yep.
So I wonder how those people are feeling about their recruiting.
Not good. They're not good.
So let's
check out the Alabama board. Hey, if you get their all access pass, you can go read the Alabama board. It's a good read right now.
Well, Arkansas is leading the league in recruiting right now.
Right.
I don't think that's going to happen.
It won't. That's why we point out it's July. Let's let the season play out. Kirby Smart's going to have a top 5 class. I'm not worried about it.
Hey, by our show next week, the old Big East will be revived, and Hawaii will be a part of it.
Hawaii, yeah.
And we'll have a big shout out to Jed May and Blaine Gilmer for joining us today. They did a great job. I appreciate them. I know they were busy with other stuff, but it's great for them to jump in the middle of the show and be with us. Good idea, Coach. We appreciate that. I'll take credit for it, though. All right, folks. We'll see you next week. Shout out to our friends at Europi Academia Brewing Company, Athens Ford, and, of course, Classic City Eats. I wish I was there right now, but I can't. Oh, and of course, Dead Soxy. Don't want to leave them out. So we'll see you next week, folks. Take care.